Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're taking a look at an unlimited ramp dragon list. It follows a very similar vein to our previous rotation ramp dragon list, but of course including the just straight out better cards like Sybil, of course, amazing heal and ramp, Draconic Fervor, again heal, ramp and draw, and then of course something like Dragonite, which is just a great ramping card. And really overall this deck I found was extremely consistent as far as it goes, and getting to Prince is very easy, so we're going to get right into this and check it out. So I was actually able to have quite a bit of fun with this deck. I mean, it runs such a fun little engine on it, which is actually quite great to use. Like, I really loved being able to take full advantage of the, say, Pure-Hearted Singers or Fervors to draw cards from Prince, which is a great strategy to go with. It saves you having to worry about drawing one card a turn from Prince and instead being able to get multiple, which is always a good way to go. Also, it's got a fairly nice curve out when it comes to cards. Of course, I do make a small error in this matchup, which when we get to it I will definitely point it out. I could have had a much better line of play. But we're reasonably consistent from here. We're going to be able to clear the 1-1. We're going to be able to ramp off this Dragonite potentially, which is actually great. And at the same time, we're going to be able to set up whatever we might need going forward with stuff like Pure-Hearted Singer. Or even better, a ramp. Multiple ramp cards should set us up nicely. I did go for the Poseidon, just as a defensive play, since we're not going to hit that 8 stride very quickly. And I knew that going into turn 4 with the Evo point, Frontline Cavalier was pretty likely, so I wanted a way to take advantage of a White Frost. Which is pretty much exactly how things went down. And of course the Draconic on top of that was actually perfect. It sets this up very nicely. I couldn't have asked for a much better draw other than maybe Sybil. At that point, Sybil actually would have been just as good. Except, of course, without the draw. So my error here was playing Azure Maiden now and not playing Prince. I definitely should have played Prince first, and then I make, of course, another mistake by playing the Prince as the Excel effect. Because I thought I'd have enough points, but miscounted my total. So a small error, but obviously not huge enough to make a massive impact. Since we still have quite a nice hand, and we still end up with another Prince that we can use if we need it. It's just from here now we really need to be using clears to remove wide boards like this one. Which is what Salamander is absolutely amazing for, being able to use Salamander to white boards. Always an enjoyable thing to do. So we don't really have much else to play out now. It's really just play whatever we've got and hope that it sticks. So there's another Queen Otohime, so another big board flood. Bahamut's actually a good counter for this now. Wiping the board and setting up a 9-9. It's definitely much better as a 9-9 than what it used to be like. It used to be, I believe, 11-11, so it used to be absolutely insane, especially with an Evo point. But being a 9-9 feels much better for Bahamut. So again, we're going to be able to wipe this board pretty easily, but at the same time I wanted to draw, so get a little bit of nice setup in. And why not, of course, play the Dragonite now, as we don't have a reason not to. And that ends up closing the game. I mean, what do you do when a big Bahamut hits board and there's really not a lot you can counter with? Now for the next matchup we are up against Shadow. Shadow's a pretty common deck when it comes to Unlimited in my experience. I've seen a lot of it floating around, so it's no surprise to see it here. So Raging Dragon, Pure-Hearted Singer and Prince, all not bad cards. But of course the Sybil draw was a much better one, especially since the Evo will tell us when our turn 5 is triggered, even if we ramp earlier, making it just a little easier to get out without having to pay too much attention. Plus, ramping when going first definitely does help. So I don't really have any play outside of the Pure-Hearted, which is a little disappointing. I would have liked to have at least had a counterplay for this Belinus. But draw is not always a bad thing. It just means we're going to potentially take some damage next turn, since we don't actually have a good turn 4. And even if I had have taken the White Dragonfrost, it would have been a waste to use its last effect. So I may as well just play them both pretty normally, Pure-Hearted and White. Soul Conversion, not really an issue. I'd usually be a little worried, but Soul Conversion is a pretty straightforward card on a board like that. The problem now is these Deathweaver. I mean, when it spawns more cards, it definitely becomes a problem, and then I have to worry about, do I deal with the board now, or do I leave it up, and so many other problems that could happen. So I decided to go for the Sybil, because it is going to help us, of course, ramp and heal, and I can obviously counter the 3-4. Plus, going into turn 5, there isn't really anything they can play that would be a threat that requires me to wipe the board this turn. So really, there was no reason to play it yet. Especially now that I can clear out the Cerberus Hound much easier anyway. So that was definitely made a lot easier. And the Bahamut. So this actually made Sybil the better play. Turn 6, there's again not much risk to it unless they're running bad, but then again that's still only 1 damage on everything, so not the worst case when I'm already healing 3 and I can clear 2 things anyway. Plus I get to save my couple of clears, which will be great for when they start playing the Ectors on turn 7, so definitely worthwhile. Again, another Cerberus. It really doesn't surprise me that we're seeing these cards at this point, and now just throwing down a Bahamut means they need to answer it immediately, so I think it was definitely the way to go. So a Demon Lord with a couple of zombies will definitely take this out, but then there's not really much more of a play from there. So the next turn's the tricky one. I need to clear out what I can without losing too much, so I can wipe the board with this Poseidon and Raging Dragon, so it's the way we're going to do things, since that will leave us with a very nice board. And Deathweaver again, so not a surprise there. They're definitely trying to get away with whatever they can now. I mean, I don't blame them, that's what Mid-Shadow does best. And they do a very, very nice job of wiping this board out as much as they possibly can. And getting that 1 damage. Obviously trying to set up for Aisha, that would definitely be the line of play I would be going for. So healing is a pretty big must at this point in the game, but at the same time I also want to be able to go for Prince. And since they aren't going to be able to get Aisha until turn 10, I think Prince was definitely the right play right now. I can always play Draconic next turn, and it shouldn't be too hard to wipe things out with what we have in our hand. Of course, they do end up with quite an insane board. There's not really a lot they can do. And it would only take me 1 draw to win this game. And that's not it, but that's not a bad one. So the Draconic Heal will take us up. Infernal Gaze, stopping any kind of spell effects, which is good. Interesting, a Test of Strength Dark Alice combo. This is not the kind of thing I expected to see from them, honestly. Definitely much more interested now. So Infernal Surge, not a bad option, even if we are overdrawing. Heavenfall, that does allow us to negate the Test of Strength quite nicely, and we can set up really well against this and heal 5 more damage. Definitely making it hard to even use Aisha effectively. Because even Aisha now will only leave me with 3 health if they had have played that straight out, although they need 10 Necromancy, which they just don't have right now. Prince of Cocytus, okay. And that is lethal, of course, because Azeroth's Reckoning will instantly drop them to 1. It's kind of what we're aiming to set up for. That was going to be the better evil of all of them. Also, thinking about that, the main reason, of course, that it wasn't going to matter if they had Aisha or not was because once we did kill Dark Alice, Aisha would have been gone, so worrying about that at that point was actually kind of pointless, but we played around it nonetheless, just in case, and it worked out quite well. So overall, really solid deck, barely dropped a game with it, was really consistent at what I wanted it to do, which was ramp into big things, continually drop them, and just completely outvalue the opponent, which is, of course, exactly what Ramp Dragon is designed to do. So if you did enjoy this video and you want to check this deck out, I will leave a link in the description below. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content. Until next time, see ya.